what was I scared of on my ketamine infusion therapy? The only thing I was scared of, honestly, was it not working. I think because I'd ran to the end of the line of tested formulas, prescription drugs, desperation. So I definitely feel like I was scared of it not working. I was scared of it having the same impact that prescription drugs had on me, where it kind of flatlines you. It just does enough for you to basically get out of bed every day. So the only thing I was scared of was it not really working. So what does ketamine infusion therapy feel like? So this is an interesting topic because I do believe that for everyone you're going to have a different effect. There's a disassociation. What ketamine therapy is actually doing is creating neuroplasticity. Now, without going into the scientific terminology of this, which will confuse everyone, I didn't know what to expect going into this. I just thought this was going to be like an IV drip. I'd sit there and chill, looking at my iPad. I had no idea I was going to be basically going under a medically supervised trip, So the doctor itself was amazing. So the first thing that we did, we were setting our intentions. We spent about an hour doing that, and then he kind of basically wired me up, put the infusion into my arm around here. And he told me it would take around 5 to 10 minutes for me to start to feel something. And again, I saw the headphones and he told me to put the headphones on. He asked on my first visit, did I bring an eye mask? And I said no. That was a bit of a mistake. He closed the blinds, the shutters a little bit. And I started to, I closed my eyes and I definitely started to feel like I was on this kind of roller coaster. Now, everyone's trip is going to be a little bit different. Just from memory, my first trip wasn't particularly very good. I had a bad trip. I started to kind of definitely become dissociated. Felt like I was in this kind of place in between consciousness and unconsciousness. My visuals, the things I was seeing was kind of definitely out of the ordinary. I could hear the bleeping because you're wired up to your heart rate. So my trip, first off, I thought I was dying. I was on a life support. I thought I was having an out of body experience. It wasn't the best. I was at some points going like 1,000,000 miles per hour, then it would slow down. Obviously, senses wise, I'm listening to kind of like this meditation sounds, music as well. I started to kind of see people. My kids were definitely, a big part of my first trip. I kept seeing their faces, my brother-in-law, my wife. So I saw a lot of like people's faces, and I had this vision of me walking, hence where I kind of saw this epiphany. I was just walking, I was running for a lot of it, and then during this trip, I had this kind of like consciousness that something bigger than me was evolving. So that was kind of my first trip. I had 11 of those. They got better. Some weeks they were faster, stronger. Some they seemed shorter. They were all very mixed. I never had one session exactly the same. What would happen, you're basically under this infusion for about 45 minutes. And you're getting checked regularly by a doctor. At some point, sometimes I could feel him patting on my shoulder. I couldn't hear anything because of the headphones. But definitely there's a complete disassociation with what was real. And your mind is kind of working and seeing things that you wouldn't normally see. And I would come out of there feeling a little bit lighter, groggy, obviously. But yeah, definitely a crazy experience. Every session then I got more and more nervous about going to, because I was like, what's going to happen today? How did it help? I definitely think there's 4 areas that it hits ketamine for me. The first was PTSD. The second was my addiction. So I guess the first way it started to help was I wasn't getting those addiction cravings anymore that I constantly had every other day or every day for the last kind of 25 years. Third thing, it starts to help with your mood. Depression started to shift. I started to feel lighter. People started to see that in me. The fourth and final thing for me was the anxiety, and that took a little bit longer to hit. Obviously there was a lot of areas to hit with that anxiety part. What's still tough? I still wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I'm definitely 1,000,000,000% better than I was, but I'm not 100%. I still get anxiety attacks, nowhere near what it was, but it's still there, and I think that's just part of being human, right? Having those feelings. Aside from that, I think there's trying to explain ketamine infusion therapy to people. is kind of complex because people don't understand what it is or what it does. For me, it was a last resort where I think, you know, we need to shift our thought process in making that kind of like first line medicine as opposed to end of line. Did it change how well I think? So this has completely changed my outlook on everything. This has not just changed me temporarily, this has changed my life for the better. And I'm forever grateful for Dr. Jeff O'Neill, Uplift Ketamine, for what they've done. And I definitely feel like my life has so much more meaning, power now because of that. And I can get blitzed and have that kind of euphoria from alcohol I've just not had for the last, when did I start it? I started May, so June, July, so 2 months or so. All right, what's different in me now? I think if you were to ask anybody who knows me, they would definitely say that I seem lighter. I've just like looked at videos and pictures of myself like from even as early as like April, May of this year, and the difference in how I look. I mean, you just see like I look and feel a different person. I'm not stressed out, I'm not depressed, I'm not looking the glass is half full, I'm not constantly under attack from my mind in the worst case scenario, I'm not driven by addiction. It just a completely 180 in my life, and I would definitely say a large portion of that is due to what I was throwing my last kind of throw the dice at was ketamine infusion therapy. Like I said, I just think this has been nothing short of a miracle for how I am today and how I was before I started the process. What am I still working on? Well, I'm still working on myself. Like I said, I still got a long way to go. I'm not there yet. There's so many areas in my life where, aside from the ketamine therapy, that can do its part. It's obviously rewiring connections. It's created that neuroplasticity in me. But there's so many areas like I've got to rebuild on. My confidence, you know, I don't have the self-loathe that I had before. I'm a little bit more confident. I've definitely had this feeling now where I really don't give a shit what other people think, whereas maybe, you know, a year or two ago I would. Definitely can be a better father, a better husband, a better friend, a better brother, a better son. So there's so many elements that I'm trying to improve because I lost so much of that through the years of kind of just abusing my body and just being depressed or being negative. So there's a long way to go, but I'm light years ahead of what I was before. And what do I want someone listening to know? Okay, so what do I want someone to know who's listening about ketamine infusion therapy? Okay, there was limited information out there. So when I got approached with the idea of doing ketamine infusion therapy, I didn't know anything about it. I think that's the number one stumbling block. I think when people hear the word ketamine, they're automatically put off, like I was, especially if you've got some form of addiction problem. The last thing you want to do is go and take more drugs. The third thing is like what would happen before. I didn't know about the cost. It's not covered by insurance, so the price obviously is pretty high. Now looking back, I wish I'd done this 4 years ago because I would have wasted so much time, and I don't think you can necessarily put a price on your health. So looking back, and also like if you're watching this and you want to know more information about it, is like for me, I would probably pay tenfold what I paid for it because it's changed my life. And how much would you put on that? I'd definitely do your research. Make sure that the professional that you're going to, the doctors you're going to, you know, do your research and reviews and things like that. This particular doctor I went to had amazing reviews. The way they kind of got me on the call straight away, the lead up questions were all like A-star. So make sure that you're doing research. There is quite a few of these. So just make sure you do research. And some of the YouTube videos out there are a little bit outdated, but you're definitely going to go under a trip, which I didn't know as well at the time. You're going to become disassociated, so you've got to be prepared to go through that. You can't drive after you've had these sessions. You feel completely groggy, so you kind of lose the rest of your day. Now I always put mine at 4:30. I had to kind of plan my day around that, and then obviously before you go, you've got to get your headset right, mindset right. You've got to go into it, and you've got to go into it with a bit of an open mind as well, like not just thinking that this is not going to work. So it's worth talking about, even if it's hard. I want to I want to pay this back a little bit, and like I said, I made a promise that I told this doctor as well on our first session, if you help me and cure me, I'm going to tell everyone in the world about you. And that's, again, I don't say things I don't mean, but truly amazing experience from start to finish. Even now, he's checking in on me. But like I say, do your research in the right practice and just make sure that it's a good fit for you.